Okay, hey guys, welcome back. Another video. Been a little while since I recorded my last one. Had a lot on my mind, been quite busy in my life, but I feel like I have a few things more to share with you guys again. And I've been thinking about this channel and what I want this channel to be. And for me, this channel for me at the moment at least is like an outlet to give the advice to the friend that I'm helping. I don't know if many people probably heard this kind of advice before, but common bit of advice we give is treat yourself like a friend that you are responsible for helping. You know, how would you treat your best friend or your mum or your brother, or your sister, someone you love? Would you treat yourself like how you would treat one of those people? And often the case is we don't treat ourselves as nicely as we would the people that we really love and care about. At least for me, that's true. And I think that's the really funny part about that advice is we end up treating the people closest to us quite similarly to how we treat ourselves as well. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen this or ever experienced this. It's like sometimes the people that you're closest to, sometimes you can have the naturally, because you're so close, you have the biggest arguments with, and sometimes you do the worst things to the people you love the most. Whereas the strangers, the acquaintances, the friends you don't really know that well, there's nothing gets that serious, nothing gets that deep as often. So I suppose this channel is like a way of me practicing that advice. It's like, okay, what advice do I feel like I needed now or needed, not that long ago? And to get to the point, we've talked a lot recently about self-love and how important that is, and how if you don't love yourself, you are going to seek it in people outside of you, and you're gonna have unrealistic expectations for those relationships. The truth is, no boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever friend they're not going to fill the hole that you have in your soul, in your heart, in terms of not feeling good enough. And if you're looking in, and I do feel like people don't make that connection. I think a lot of people look unconsciously for someone to fill that hole in their own self-love, in their own psyche. And these people end up being anxiously attached, who chase and chase and chase and chase and chase and need the constant reassurance. And I personally have been prone to doing that, to being anxious and constantly needing that. But the ironic fact about that is you attract what you fear, and the harder you chase something, the further away it's going to get. That is the prevailing wisdom, and there's a lot of truth to it. You have to let things breathe. There's a really cool saying that I really like, and I can't remember who I need to attribute it to, but we should aspire to love people in a way that they feel free. We should aspire to love people in a way that they feel free. True love is not suffocating someone. It's not holding them tight, not letting them go. That is not love. That's selfish, and that's dependency, because there's a misinformed wisdom that if we hold them so tight that you're keeping them all to yourself, or that they can't possibly leave you. And I think that's what the whole self-love thing comes down to, is you have to accept that people can leave, they can go. Someone at any point can decide they do not want to be with you anymore. And what the lesson that you have to learn is, at any point, anyone in your life can say, I'm done. They can walk away, they can close the door, and you may never see them again. You will be okay. You do not need any one person in your life to survive. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people which you feel like you do, or you really like having in your life. Needing and wanting are two different things. You like having someone around, that's okay, that's good. You should want to share your life with people that you enjoy spending time with. But there is some wisdom in accepting that they may not be around forever. And that may be because they may, unfortunately, die. They might have an accident. You cannot predict what will happen in the world tomorrow. And this connects quite nicely to living in the moment. Okay, if you can accept that at any point, that is love. Love is an act of total vulnerability, because that person can go at any point. And the irony is, the harder you try to prevent them from going by holding on too tightly and suffocating them, the more needy you are, the more anxious you are. That is a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're just pushing it in that direction. If you can take a deep breath and just get it out, you gain something, because you can now let it breathe. Let it breathe. Let it be what it is. Enjoy it for what it is in the moment. Why do you need to control the person you love? You don't. Why can't you just let them live? And you can live. If you love them, let them go, because they'll come back if they love you too. And if they don't, you'll know. Something to think about. And a hard lesson, especially if you have that fear in a relationship. In fear that they might walk out on you someday. And often that fear is sometimes illogical, but sometimes it's based in reality. This happens to a lot of people. Someone walks out on them, they cheat on them, whatever. But it's really important to remember that someone doing something bad to you is not a judgment about your character. That is a statement on their character. And it's really, really hard to internalize that, because someone rejecting you feels like an assessment of your value, but it's not. You can be super, super, super sexy, rich, billionaire, millionaire, top of the range, most beautiful person in the world. You could take the most beautiful man, most beautiful woman, put them together. They might just not get along. You might not just be that person's person. And that's crushing. It's so crushing to be like, what do you mean? They feel like they're my person. But if they feel like they're your person, but to them, you don't feel like their person, buddy, then they're not your person. And an optimistic way of looking at it is like, okay, say it all goes wrong and your hopes are crushed. Well, what that means is, not to be too spiritual here, but that means there's something better waiting for you down the line. Whatever your religion or faith or spirituality, whatever you want to call it, God or the universe, whatever, just enjoy a little bit of just dreaming a little bit and just enjoy the spirituality. You don't have to be so scientific about it. Just be grateful, because that means something better is coming. There's something bigger in plan for you. You know, because what's for you cannot pass you by. And that's cheesy, really repeated wisdom, but there's truth in it. What's for you can't pass you by. And that includes the lessons as well. I do believe that there are lessons that you have to learn. You have to make mistakes. God knows we've all made a lot of mistakes in our lives. You cannot live a life without mistakes. So I would say my advice today, without trying to make this video too long, I was going to summarize it. Learn to love yourself. I've been saying that a few times. Love yourself wholly, truly, fully, so that you can love another person. Don't seek to love in terms of seeing what you get. Look at what you can give the other person. But, and this is the key part, don't give with expectation to receive. If you're giving because you're thinking that this person's going to like me, they're going to love me if I do all of this stuff, that is selfish. That is not true generosity, because it's employed to an affection. What would it look like for you to give without an expectation to receive? It's hard, because our egos get in the way. We give and we think, well, are they giving as much as, are they giving as much as I am? Am I a fool? Or am I being taken advantage of? And what I would say is temper it. Don't meet someone and throw everything into it. But there's small ways that you can be loving to someone, even in the early stages. And you can start by practicing the art of just listening. There's a piece of advice I saw somewhere, and I remember this. I saw this when I was quite young, and it's been so helpful to my development as a person and my people skills. And it was, the most interesting thing to every person is themselves. Now that makes us all sound really conceited and narrow and narcissistic, but I don't necessarily think it is. Because to every person, they are the main characters of their own life. I had this conversation today at work with a friend, and they were saying, you know, do you think you're an NPC? Do you think you're an NPC character? Do you think this person's an NPC? And I went, well, maybe I am an NPC. And they went, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm an NPC in the lives of all the people who come in to our work. I'm an NPC in your life because I'm just someone you see at work. And they went, oh, it's a really good answer. And I know it was a good answer. That came out of nowhere as well. I didn't rehearse that. But it's true. So if you can play into that, be genuinely interested in the people you meet, not just the people that you fancy or that you want to like you. If you can do this with every single person you meet, because every single person can teach you something. Directly or indirectly, you can learn something from everyone in this universe. What a skill to have. I appreciate I'm jumping all over the place here. But my final piece that I want to say, and this has been relevant for me recently, is if you find yourself in a situation where you are stressing, especially in relationships or whatever, and it gets up here, it gets in your chest, breathe it out. Just huff it out. Just great sounds for the video. And remember that you are never stuck. You always have the tools for things to change. You just don't realize it. You always have options. You always have power. And it's so funny when you are so caught up in this anxious cycle and this stress. And I was like this recently. And then I took a small physical leap of action into solving this problem. And it took a telephone call for me. And I realized I was stressed about this whole thing with my friend. And I called him up. And we just went straight down the line. Let's talk about this. And we went straight direct. And that approach is not going to work in all situations, all scenarios. I'm not saying that's a one size fits all. But there's so much unsaid. There's so many elephants in the room. We've got a herd of bloody elephants in the room. And you can just cut through. If you're willing to be the person who takes the first step, bang, you can solve a lot of problems that way. If you can swallow your pride and go, I will call first because I want this problem to be solved. I will apologize first. Sometimes it's good to just swallow your pride sometimes, even if you are not the one in the wrong. Can you be the person who makes it easy for someone to right their wrongs? Or do you want to be a person who makes it difficult and makes it painful and like fingers on chalkboard for someone to feel like, oh God, I have to apologize, and they're gonna be so angry and they're gonna be so mad? No, because we're all human. We're all on the boat together. So maybe this video has been a whole lot of waffle, but just a collation of some of the wisdom that I feel like I have picked up on this week, or feel like I needed this week. Caution with the word wisdom. I don't know anything, but it feels good to talk about it. It feels good to put it out into the universe. If it helps one person, then that is a big accomplishment in my book. I think we forget that. It's quite a rewarding experience to help people. Think about that. It feels good to give. It feels good to love someone, love people, do something for someone. Isn't it good? See a smile on a friend's face or a family member's face when you get to help them a little bit, or the relief. Revolution, it's nice and it feels good to help people and do good in the world, and you can do good. And you can start by doing good to yourself. If you do good to yourself, it becomes easier to give to others without expectations, which is true giving. There you go. TED Talk over. Have a lovely evening, and it's good to be recording a video again. If you watch to the end, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.